Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Without Context podcast.
We could have also started. We also could have started this episode with "Hello there," because we are recording it on. We are recording this on
May 4th.
We are recording this on May 4th, so technically it's Star Wars Day. And as Haley pointed out, Friday when this goes up, it'll be Space Day. So
National Space Day in America.
So we're gonna probably spend today's episode 33, I believe.
33?
Dude, I don't do numbers.
I don't do numbers anymore. Let's just stop adding the number to it. Let's just say welcome to this episode of
You've already started. You've already started.
No, I've already started. I'm saying for the future though. But yeah, we're talking about Star Wars today. Kind of the off the cusp topic. We kind of sat down and was like, we haven't decided, but it's May 4th, Friday, Space Day. Let's talk about Star Wars a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know the Kylo Ren simp would probably want to talk about some stuff, and the Star Wars DM would probably want to talk about some stuff, and the general kind of all over the place.
Wars, I'm a player.
You are a player. Okay, it's not a game you DM, but you are a player in Star Wars.
I can DM Star Wars though, if pressed.
But yeah, so that's gonna be this week's episode. It is currently storming where I am, so there may be a cut in this episode if I do lose power, or you might just not see this episode, depending on how long I lose power.
The cutting room, it's just on the cutting room floor. We'll see.
So we'll see.
All right. So, general thoughts about Star Wars. I want to start honestly with the prequels. Not because they're a great work of art or anything, but it's just I just like how they've looped around to being good again after years and almost costing Hayden Christensen his career.
It almost cost the Jar Jar Binks guy his career too. That actor suffered because of that role. That's the death threats level of stuff to get him out of acting because they hated the character so much.
Like 80s WWF all over again.
Yeah. But
and now everyone thinks it's good, and it's the wildest thing. You don't see Gungans anymore though, so
Say something about the motherfucking prequels, bitch.
Duel of the Fates slaps.
Fucking nice about Jar Jar Binks.
It's Duel of the Fates still fucking slaps.
It's a great. It set the tone so well for that scene.
And it hits in the Kenobi trailer, the first one that they put out, where it's just it kicks in, the chorus kicks in, and it's just we're back. Oh, Obi-Wan's back.
I do so yeah, I remember watching the prequels. I think we watched them all back to back to back because my uncle was a really a big nerd around the time episode 3 had finally come out. I don't remember how old I was at the time.
I was in the 7th grade.
You were in the 7th grade?
I think the first one, Phantom Menace was 99.
99.
Yeah.
I was 6 years old.
Revenge of the Sith is 2005. So
7.
I was in high school.
Sam, I think we just got into high school.
Yeah. Well, I am famously the oldest one here. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting because I do remember watching episode 1 in 1999, and then watching I feel like I've watched episode 2, but I don't remember much about it except for the part where he decapitates what's his name?
Jango Fett.
Yeah, he did where he decapitates Jango Fett, and I think everything else in that particular episode I've disassociated through that whole movie, and then cool.
Yeah, number 2.
Going through.
Number 2's number 2's a weird beast because I cannot tell you anything about that movie until the Coliseum battle, where the clone troopers come in. I forget the entire plot of number 2, with the exception of here are the clones, here is the droid versus clone battle in the Coliseum where Jango dies. And it's just I forget everything else about that movie. So
it's from what I remember, it's a lot of politicking.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it. I think that's really what it was, because episode 1 was like pod racing, fuck yeah, and then episode 2 is like a lot of politicking, and then the Coliseum battle, and like I think I Am the Senate is episode 2, or is that episode 3?
I think that's episode 3 where
that's episode 3.
that's Palpatine
Okay.
taking control.
Yeah, and then episode 3 is Palpatine taking control, and then the fall of Anakin Skywalker, and that's what makes those episodes memorable. But you know, high school me isn't gonna give a shit about a lot of politics until, oh, cool, they have lightsabers, they're fighting again.
You know, I didn't give it a lot of thought growing up, but he killed a lot of kids. It's like it's like growing up, I was just like, oh no, but now growing up, it's like, wow. Like,
yeah,
we were like, oh, that's just a thing that happened, but now it's like they really went there with Anakin Skywalker.
Some of the extended universe stuff is also really fucked.
Yeah, I want to. We'll get into that a bit. I want to talk about the old like extended universe before they did their like soft reboot when Disney bought everything.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like I said, episode 1, you discover Anakin, pod racing, and then episode 2 is a bunch of politicking, and then the battle at the Coliseum. I feel like you're Haley's like I feel like you're glossing over something.
So for me,
Yes.
I went and saw Phantom Menace was the first Star Wars movie that I ever saw. My dad took me to see it. It's always a movie, like Star Wars is always something I see with my dad. The movies, at least.
Sure.
And I was so excited about it in the car because, like, Duel of Fates, like that double lightsaber with Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I thought that stuff was like the coolest thing ever. My dad, who grew up with the original trilogy, was like, if you like that heaping pile of stinky hot garbage, you're gonna love the original one. So we like stopped at like the video rental store and got them on VHS tape and watched them. I like the prequels, even when it wasn't cool to like the prequels, because the part that you're glossing over in episode 2 is when Padme and Anakin fall in love, and then they go
of course.
they go back to his home planet to try and save his mom, and she dies in his arms, and he's like, and I killed them, not just the men, but the women and children too, and she's just like, that's really hot. And it's like iconic. She's sitting there being like, I remember this battle, and I remember when they like decapitated Jango Fett and the politicking, and I'm just sitting here like,
and the romance subplot.
Okay. I forget.
We'll add the romance subplot.
I forget that scene because then she's really not cool with him killing a bunch of other children in the other movie. She's really cool with him killing the not white children, but then when it comes to the Jedi children, suddenly there's an issue.
Hey, she's not okay with him killing the Sand People. She's not, but she recognizes why he did it, and I don't think she outright is like, that's okay. She definitely comforts him in that moment because like it came from a place of like rage and grief, whereas she was unconscious, or no, she was still up and at it, but when she's like, you killed younglings, and she was really mad about it because there was really no excuse for him to have done that.
Was Attack of the Clones 2002 or 2003?
It was
02.
So I was 10.
I can't help but feel like that segment was kind of a product of the time. That was a year after 9/11. So I can't help but feel like that was that was something, I guess, that now just like, oh, is that just something because of the time period that we were in?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've had time to process that shit. You two are white, so it takes a while.
Yeah. So, and it's like it's like one of those things.
I'm having that TikTok moment where it's like, I'm on a sugar crash. Haley realizes how racist it was.
I think well, I think that's kind of, I don't want to say like that was a conscious like attempt of it, but I think that there's probably a lot in Attack of the Clones that is built from that time period. I mean, you know, the Sand People being killed by Anakin, it's probably not intended to be that way, but that's something that is at least to me, far too coincidental for the time
it's
period
definitely-
that we're in.
It's definitely an unconscious thing made by a bunch of American creators.
Yeah.
Were they known as Tusken Raiders at that point, or was that like
Yes.
retroactive? Okay.
I think
'Cause he
I
called
think
them-
in the 70s, the first movie they called them Tuskens.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, because he specifically calls them sand people at some point.
That's because he's racist.
I mean, Luke definitely called them, or in the original one, they definitely said like, "Oh no, the sand people."
Now
And,
this
like,
is my
Tusken Raiders?
this is my
Huh.
mind like putting together like connections. It's like, oh, did that all happen because of 9/11? But then it's like, or was this just like, and now is there like this subconscious thing to be like, oh, we're doing this, but this also leads into what Darth Vader essentially leads the space Nazis to be. Like there's this weird line of, I guess
We
bigotry.
never sort of we don't really have the Tusken Raiders humanized, I don't think, until Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you have Mando communicating with them in their own sign language. And that sort of was like, oh, the Tusken Raiders have more of a function than just showing up and being like, "Aah!" and stealing your stuff or whatever.
So those are
I'm so glad-
Jawas.
It's almost like Star Wars is good when you let Dave Filoni touch it.
And
Well, you know.
Boba Fett really did also like
I haven't seen
human.
it yet.
It does do its job to humanize the Tuskens as like a actual culture and a people in a very fulfilling way. At least to me, I found it very respectful. Not just in like to Star Wars, but also just like here's a race of people that could be similar to people that we have in the real world, but we're not like giving them a stereotype. They're suddenly like this people with a history and a lore and a culture and practices and stuff like that is
Not
unique
just
to them.
something for Luke or Anakin or
Not just
whomever
barbarians to
just
slice through
shoot.
you.
Not
Mhm.
not someone for the Skywalker family to have a grudge against. So
Yeah. It's one of my friends, shout out to Bob, who's probably gonna listen to this.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
is a big Star Wars fan. And I remember when he was telling me about some of that stuff from the Book of Boba Fett, that episode 2, I believe it is, where they like go where he like is taken in by the Tuskens, is literally the best Star Wars he has ever seen.
Yeah,
Like it's great what you can do when you just like, humanize a group of people and don't make them just fucking barbarians.
It's almost like you can do great things when you have a cohesive, well thought out, overarching plot, and you aren't writing a self-insert character into your own franchise.
I will give it to Boba Fett. It didn't feel like a Boba Fett show. It felt like Mando season 3, the prequel. Like that was kind of the feeling I was getting from it. Like Boba Fett eventually became second fiddle in his own show. So
As he
Yeah.
deserves. Not
But,
a big fan.
given how everything's like tying together, I believe there's a long running plan, and he's just kind of a figurehead in whatever is to come for Star Wars now.
Good.
Because it feels like Tatooine's about to be like a big location again for like a bunch of different stories.
Actions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is also taking place this is all still taking place in the past.
Yeah.
All these stories are taking place in the past in the Star Wars timeline. Which is
'Cause
interesting.
Mandalorian and Book of Boba take place between Ep 6 and Ep 7, if I'm correct.
No, they take place, I think they
Or 7 and
established
8, or
they
God,
established
big
no,
numbers.
they established it as I think 5 years after the 6th movie, the original third movie.
Yeah.
Like the Empire's fallen, but the First Order hasn't come up. It's that lawless. It's that period of like
Got rid of the Nazis, but we're not quite at neo-Nazis yet.
Yes.
Gotcha.
That's where my game takes place actually.
It's
'Cause it's just
almost
an easy place to ride around.
in this it's just like to tie it into like today's politics. It's like Star Wars is also a good political story showing us that people are dicks. People in power are dicks.
Oh, buddy, you might not want to say that out loud on the internet.
It's a shame Star Wars isn't a political movie, or else it might be saying something.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a message. I think somewhere in interviews, I think it's established like he wanted the originals to be this like classic good versus evil, and the Empire is obviously evil. Like they are just space Nazis.
They are very much so.
I mean,
and it's very mask off at times too.
I mean, the officers in the Empire, even the First Order, like they have pantsuits that look like Hugo Boss designed them. So it's just like,
yeah.
I think it's interesting, which I don't know if this happened starting in the 70s just by like the constraints of like budget or technology. Star Wars has such like a rich diversity of like species and like types of people, but whenever you see the First Order or the Empire, it's all humans.
yeah.
Every now and again.
Every now and again, like
now and again, you get like a
which
token.
I don't know if Thrawn counts because he's EU, but
Thrawn still counts.
He is also with a mention in Mandalorian and a presence in Rebels. He is actually like main canon now. I think he's the big bad they're building to.
Oh, gross! I don't want to look at space whales.
Space Strahd.
Space Strahd.
It's Space Strahd. So.
I don't know. I didn't read. I read some of the like a handful of expanded universe novels, but at the time it just wasn't what I was into.
The only reason I say that is because original like Strahd art had him as like a bluish like individual. So
oh, I thought you said if his personality is like Strahd, I'm a goner.
Oh no, I would personally play Strahd like Admiral Thrawn, not the other way around.
But
I'm a little bit fucked now.
If I put a picture of like OG Strahd art next to Thrawn, like from the EU novels, you'd be like, it'd be the Hamilverse. They're the same.
No, it's that picture from The Officer. It's like HR wants you to find the difference between the two photos. They're the same picture.
They're the same picture.
I feel like my biggest, and like I know we're supposed to be like talking about Star Wars and like celebrating it because it's like Star Wars Day. I have a lot of qualms.
Yeah.
I have a lot of qualms.
We don't have to be all positive all the time. There are absolutely like flaws to find in the system.
Well, I got on a tangent because like I wanted to know when Attack of the Clones was filmed, because that from God, what was it? It was like 01 to 08. It's like that's all it was. It was just us pissed off.
So it appears he completed the rough draft for episode 2 in March of 2000, 3 months before the start of principal photography for the film.
Okay, so it's just a weird coincidence, unless that face indicates
something.
So I'm just skimming this like production section about writing episode 2, and I have no context for this because I just found the paragraph.
It fits the podcast.
You said the thing.
I said the thing. It says, in writing The Empire Strikes Back, Lucas initially decided that Lando Calrissian was a clone and came from a planet of clones which caused the Clone Wars, mentioned by Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope. He later came up with an alternate concept of an army of clone shock troopers from a remote planet, which were used by the Republic as an army in the war that followed. So he took the one black man and was gonna be like, he's a clone.
I want to tie that original idea. It would have been sweet if Finn turned out to be a Lando clone and he just took like a little segment of that original idea where it's like,
I feel like that would have sent a very interesting message. It was like the two black people in the whole universe are related to each other.
Unfortunate, yes. It's like you are correct.
You could simply have more black people in your show.
I think unless I'm getting her skin tone incorrect, and I need to probably look up the actress before I say this. In Obi-Wan Kenobi, it looks like there is a black actress, but she's playing one of the Sith. So it's either there's two. It's like there's.
I think she's playing second sister.
Yeah, so it's like there's 3, and if that's the case, 33% of them our villains. So, but
Yeah,
you also got
both-
you also got Mace Windu as a good
Oh
guy.
my
So
god.
so like so
The bar's in hell, people.
the bar is literally like in the dirt, and there probably could be more. I mean, I think we got a lot of Hispanic and Asian actors in like Rogue One and a bunch of other spin-offs, or at least coded individuals. But yeah, I think Star Wars could do better. But remember, the last time they got people of color into Star Wars, a lot of people got very butthurt about it. So
Good.
and
Let
good.
them be butthurt.
Let them be butthurt. Fuck them.
So to loop back to your 9/11 question, reshoots were filmed in March of 2001, so the entire film predates 9/11 by several months.
That is a weird
But that
coincidence.
doesn't mean we didn't already have long-standing tension in the Middle East, i.e., Desert Storm.
I was gonna say Desert Storm was
Yeah.
a few years before the Phantom Menace.
All kinds of tomfuckery over there.
And it's probably just before we like get off this topic, because this is probably not what people came to hear, but you have to also think, the 80s Afghanistan during the Cold War, Operation Desert Storm, I think the Arab Spring was about that same time frame. If I
Arab Spring was much more, unless there was more than one.
Okay, nope. That I am.
Arab Spring was relatively recently.
Yeah, that's 2010. So I am incorrect. But there has been a lot of conflicts in the Middle East since the 70s. I mean,
they got oil, and
I think
people want it.
Rambo 3 is like all about him fighting in Afghanistan, and that was the 80s. So it's like it's still a fairly recent thing. And if he's, George Lucas is growing up in all these times, it might just be something that embedded, itself into his head. But I know people aren't here. I know people aren't here to talk about me assuming a lot of information.
We could do a hard pivot, and I could talk about my Star Wars hot takes that I've been told by several people in the Star Wars community disqualifies me as a true fan of Star Wars.
Sure.
Boy.
I'm just going to sit here and probably not open my mouth for a few minutes.
No. I have bad opinions.
I gotta hear this.
I think Han Solo is one of the worst characters in the franchise. I think he's boring. I think there's very little about him that is truly likable. And it feels like he got all of the conventionally like cool traits, and then Luke had to become like less cool so that Han Solo could be cooler. When he died in the episode 7, I cheered in my heart that I didn't have to look at his stupid face for a second longer. That apparently makes me not a true Star Wars fan, because apparently everyone has to be a bootlicker for Han Solo. My second hot take: I think Yoda is probably one of the worst Jedis to ever exist. He was in charge of the Jedi Order when they abandoned the core tenets of their faith and became political tools of war, when they're supposed to be apolitical peacekeepers. And all of the events of the films could be dropped onto that Jedi Council headed by him. And then how does he respond to the failures of his leadership? He fucks off to Dagobah and is exactly a little bit helpful, and then he promptly dies.
I looked up.
Definitely complicit in a lot of the stuff that leads up to the rise of the Sith again.
Yeah, I looked up the concept and casting for Han Solo just to kind of see like if there was anything about the history of it. Apparently he was supposed to be an alien.
Would have been cooler.
An alien from the description, green skin, no nose, and enormous gills. So I'm assuming a Han Solo that looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh,
which
hell yeah.
I feel like we were robbed of. So,
God damn you, Harrison Ford.
Watch your fuckers rise up.
The second draft saw Han Solo as a bearded, flamboyant pirate, which I could have also gotten behind.
Yeah.
But then by the
I don't think it would have been. I don't think that would have worked in the 80s though, because that would have been like.
And then a
little too effeminate.
And then by the third draft, he was developed into a James Dean style star pilot, which is what we got.
Stupid.
Lucas also said he used Humphrey Bogart as a point of reference. So, Casablanca, I
Oh, that
believe, right?
actually,
That's
yeah, yep.
Yeah, so the worst. I have two more hot takes that I'm willing to
Oh
share in a
boy,
public forum on
let's
the
go.
internet.
sure.
I think Lando Calrissian would have been a better third member of like the original trio. I think if you
Mhm,
swapped him and Han Solo, it would have been a much more compelling film franchise.
mhm.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm a Han Solo hater, and
Certified.
certified Han Solo hater. And this one gets me uh fearful of my safety if it ever comes up in public around people in real life.
Sure.
Unabashedly, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, I'm just re-owning up. My favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi, and you can pry that film out of my cold dead hands. I think it's the best of the modern Star Wars, including the prequels, not
Well, that's
including the shows, but I think it's the best one. And everyone's like, "Meh, meh." I don't care. It's the best one. It
so
is the
that
only Star Wars movie that has ever surprised me.
so that's the one where like they kill Snoke and then they have the really cool shots that's like back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The
that
only
movie that's fine.
that's the
That is a
only
very controversial take, Deca. You don't
You're
that
understand.
I
is
don't
the
give a
only
shit what other people
memorable
think.
that's the only memorable scene for that movie for me. It's like I don't know what it is about Star Wars and the second movie of each series. I can only remember one solid scene from
It
every
Ha-
second Star Wars movie. And
Haley
it's
loves them because of the romance subplot that happens.
Okay, if I had to choose my favorite movie from each
Mhm.
trio,
Mhm.
episode 3.
Mhm.
Oh my god, I bawled my eyes out in that theater. My poor father having to drag his like 12-year-old child to cry at the movie theater. Original trilogy, obviously episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, is
Sure.
solidly the best of the original trilogy. And unabashedly, The Last Jedi. I felt like episode 7 was too predictable, which is actually a good thing in my opinion because it helped reassure those coming back to the franchise that like, hey, we're not going to do anything crazy like we did in the prequels, while also easily introducing a new generation of fans. But episode 8 is the only Star Wars film to ever genuinely surprise me. I did not see him killing Snoke coming. Didn't see that happening, and
I
didn't see him
just I
going for the Supreme Leader. I was like, are we getting a Kylo Ren redemption arc in episode 2? Oh my
Nope.
god. And then
I
And then we didn't.
I feel like there's a lot about the sequel trilogy that like we could pick at for like little things.
what do you mean they never finished it?
Yeah, Snoke's death
Okay.
had no gravity for me. It's like because I think he was like kind of seen in Force Awakens, and then he just like shows up and then just like promptly dies, and it's like, who were you? So
See, I'm gonna defend Last Jedi with my dying breath. And
Okay.
I do feel like in the grand scheme of things, it was probably a misstep
there,
killing Snoke as early as they did because now we have fucking Palpatine coming back because Kylo Ren apparently isn't enough of a villain on his own with Hux.
I have one thing to
Sharky's
say about the ninth movie, but I'm gonna save that for later. Just,
okay, cool.
I just have
Uh,
one thing, and I wish I never knew it. I'll just say it now.
uh,
I could live without knowing Palpatine fucks. It's like
I could live without
I
knowing
could
Palpatine
live
fucks.
without
We
knowing
could all live without
that
knowing Palpatine fucks.
the Palpatine fucks, but they did it. They showed it, and it's a thing. It's like, here, yep, I did it. And it's like,
Fuck.
cool.
They didn't show. No, never mind.
You
Continue,
don't see
Haley.
his bare
Sorry.
ass.
They
Anyway,
they showed
anywho,
with Offspring.
Offspring.
Okay.
Anywho, so I feel one of the great tonal shifts with Snoke, and it's sort of, I think Ryan Johnson was setting up a really good shot for whomever took the third film to really set up Kylo Ren as a formidable enemy. Because in the first film, you just see Snoke's giant hologram head. And
Yeah,
he's this sort of like distant, imposing figure that strikes fear into like Kylo Ren and Hux, who's a freaking sociopath. And in the second film, they make him small. They make him old, decrepit, weak. And that was significant to me because it's like, why are these two evil, deplorable, unforgivable, but capable men bowing to this whatever that slug man is over on that throne in a gold bathrobe. Like, what in the hell is that? And I can't think of like what message, like I don't have anything poetic to say about what the message of that is, other than like Kylo Ren stepped into his own in that moment, and then the volleyball went over to J.J. Abrams, and he promptly spikes it at his own feet and went, "No, I don't want Kylo Ren to be capable."
See, that's what gets me the most about the potential of the sequel trilogies. They needed to either plan it out together instead of just hot potatoing the movie sequels to each other, or commit to a single director. And I think that is where the fatal flaw of the sequel trilogy is that you have two cooks in the same kitchen.
I feel another major flaw is they committed one of the cardinal sins of the prequel trilogy without realizing it, which was they didn't like what made the original series good was there was one villain and his like ancillary villain as a throughway, like a byline through the entire movies to kind of keep you like, oh god, we gotta fuck up that Darth Vader dude. Then oh my god, Darth Vader's his dad. The main that like there's a set of videos that I strongly recommend anybody watch. I'll have to find the link and have Sharky put it in the description, but it's a guy doing like, what if the Star Wars prequels were good, like actually good, and by changing Obi-Wan to being the main character, like the main POV character, and keeping one villain, keeping Darth Maul as the villain, because the first one was Darth Maul, and then it was fucking Dooku in the second one, or was Dooku
Christopher Lee?
Yeah, Count Dooku in the second one, and then whatever the fuck General Grievous was. The worst villain ever, because he's like, I'm really badass. I'm leaving.
General Kenobi.
I'm a robot with a lung problem.
And the first two sequel movies kept that same villain triad, or like core four of them, because it was
Quartet. Which,
as someone who is well versed in Sith lore, I was pretty annoyed that there were so many, but whatever. So you had Snoke, you had Kylo, Hux, and Phasma, which I was like, cool, like everyone has someone that they particularly despise. Sure, cool. But then they killed Snoke, which I'm a fan of doing it. Like, if that scene could have just been in the third movie, it would have been really good. But and then they put in Palpatine.
Like that episode,
which totally negates the gravitas of the entire first trilogy. But whatever.
Well, that episode 8, they kind of just jettisoned every villain from the last episode just out. They're like, all right, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Now it's Palpatine.
No,
they got rid of Phasma, right?
Phasma, it was implied, but you thought she died in the first one, and she came back.
And then
it's implied that she was gone, but Hux and Kylo were very much alive. So you boiled down your 4 villains into 2. So if anything, he consolidated to Kylo and his rabid little fox boy. And then they're like, right. You know what this franchise needs? This old dead man, which totally negates the sacrifice of Anakin Skywalker at the end of episode 6.
There's a lot about episode 9 that
I don't even like thinking about it.
It leaves a sour taste because you're right, it does negatively affect the older movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Anakin's growth from 1 to his sacrifice is like, oh, it's for nothing. Palpatine's still here. And then it's like, oh, his sacrifice is avenged because of Force ghosts and this new character. It's like, no, it negates it. Anakin,
shouldn't have her.
I wanted the story that I thought we were getting, which was Rey, Poe, and Finn being the new triad and having like a smart like scavenger who, you know, can like the smart scavenger mechanic, the stormtrooper who I really wanted to become a Jedi. Yeah. Like just seeing like how does this new thing affect it, and then you have the cocky pilot, which is the Han Solo stand-in, but Poe's better.
Poe's infinitely better.
Poe's infinitely better, and
then they robbed us of
made him
the
a
gay
drug dealer, and I'm fucking mad.
They robbed us of the gay. So it's supposed to be Poe and Finn, and we were robbed. Thanks, Disney.
Who the hell is Zori? I don't give a shit about Zori.
Who's that little
She
pocket
was a love
gremlin
interest.
that she had? But
I don't know.
it
I'm
also
the spy.
it's also kind of insulting because in the second movie, Leia, this famous general, the hero of the resistance, calls for help and nobody comes. And then in 9, Lando's just like, hey everybody, we gotta go fight, and the entire fucking galaxy shows up. And it's like, what the fuck?
That's another cool thing that Rian Johnson set up for whoever did the next one, was like, we can't rely on the methodology and the infrastructure of the past, because that clearly didn't work if the First Order was allowed to become the First Order on the watch of all those people.
Yeah.
And it passed the baton to the next generation of like, you guys got to find what works for you all and forge new alliances.
Yeah, it's
and,
just, it's like, it's not going to work for Leia.
Geopolitical space. And
Yeah.
then they fumbled it.
It's like, it's not going to work for the former resistance. The New Republic is blown to hell. The planet's gone. So it's like, all right, this new generation growing up in this age of this like a new looming empire has to stop it. They have to stop this cycle. And it's just like, nope, Lando calls one dude and then the whole galaxy shows up. And it's like,
I do love that for Lando though.
I love this.
Good for Lando.
I love the scene. I love Poe's like ship coming up over like the Star Destroyer and you just see like this huge fucking fleet. Like it's a cool scene. Because it's like hell, it's that thing is like hell yeah, but it's like the way that they got to that point.
Scene.
Yeah, it's the way that they got to that point. Just like it leaves a sour taste.
I feel like that movie was trying too hard to elicit emotional reactions out of the viewers that it didn't earn.
Yep.
Like for example, killing Chewie and then not killing Chewie.
Yeah.
And
cowards.
The reveal, like. It would have been like if they had to have Palpatine back, like if that was like the grand scheme of Star Wars from like the minute the idea germinated in George Lucas's mind, why would they put it in the opening crawl? Wouldn't it be cooler if like Kylo's out there doing that scene where he like slams that dude in the ground and I'm just in there like, oh god, why is it so hot? And have him be like, oh man, like I thought I killed Snoke and got the mean voices out of my head. Who's this other mean voice in my head? And then you have the surprise of like, oh, it's some like weird half-assed resurrection of Palpatine. That would have been actually maybe kind of
just
cool.
Also, don't put it in the trailer.
Don't put it in the trailer.
Like, make the trailer. Make the trailer. Make it be like, all right, hey, we found this secret base for the First Order. You know, this is the last stand. We got to stop them. And then, like, without anybody knowing from the trailer, without anybody knowing from TV spots, just boom, Palpatine's back. Just like
that was what they were working on, because like that's a very neo-Nazi thing to do. Like, do you like? This is probably gonna get like content flagged, being like,
oh, I always check our videos as this is not suitable for anybody under 18. So
okay, cool. You best believe if like the Disney adults have that conspiracy of like Disney's frozen head, Walt Disney's frozen head is underneath Cinderella's castle or wherever his frozen head is. You best believe if there was an ability for some neo-Nazis to have like a whole ass like decrepit half frozen,
it's just the Futurama head in the jar.
of their
you can do that now. They own Futurama.
Yeah, so you bet like that would have tracked for like, we thought these old space Nazis were cool if we had like, I don't know, that body that fell down that shaft.
It's just so weird because it's like Palpatine being back is literally like these neo-Nazis resurrected Hitler.
Yeah,
like
it's the plot to Wolfenstein, really.
It is the plot to Wolfenstein. Like it really is.
Wasn't there a line that Poe delivers in that film where he's like and like
that it's written? No, it's written. No, it is. No, it is. It is a written line. It's just
literally just.
It's Oscar Isaac just reacting to the information that he received.
Palpatine has returned.
They're like, how is this possible? And all he says is somehow Palpatine has come back, and that's all they leave it as. They don't explain it. It's just it's there. Somehow he's back. The movie proceeds as intended.
It's the dark side of the Force.
And that's why I'm like, what the fuck happened to this movie?
That's not how Bogan works.
It's just, it's weird because, like, if they're doing what I feel they're doing in the shows, where they're building towards this ragtag team of, Mando, Boba Fett, Ahsoka going up against Thrawn. Like, if that's the storyline I feel the shows are taking, you have the First Order on a planet outside of the system that is based to a giant First Order, like, fleet of ships. That is essentially where Thrawn is stationed in the extended universe novels. It could have been Thrawn, but they chose Palpatine. So, because the thing is,
Thrawn is Space Thrawn.
Thrawn, after Darth Vader's death, Palpatine and Darth Vader is like the next big bad in the extended universe. And he resides with a whole secret fleet outside of the system, which is the plot that they set up in The Last Skywalker, but then they slapped Palpatine in place of Thrawn. And I'm like,
it would have been cooler.
I was like, it's like you hit us with Thrawn and then build, like a post-sequel series, like a TV show following that more. Ooh, instantly great. But considering that it's Palpatine and the First Order, I feel like Thrawn is not going to survive whatever happens.
Here's how you could have done it. Whoever this Snoke guy was, which, like, to this day, I like Rise of Skywalker was like, oh, Snoke was some kind of failed clone of Palpatine. Yawn, boring, dumb.
For sure.
If Snoke was someone who, like, figured out they had, like, dark side powers while, like, working under Thrawn or whatever, it was just like, I'm gonna like, betrayed Thrawn or, like, somehow, like, got Thrawn out of the picture and then raised, like, Kylo Ren and then Hux and everybody. And then Kylo kills Snoke, and then Thrawn comes in being like, you're sitting in my chair, you little punk ass bitch. Like, that would have been so cool. Because you know who's a punk bitch? Hold on. Kylo Ren is a punk bitch.
But the thing that gets me is, like, I think they might have covered in, like, the comics, because a lot of the comics now fit this new timeline that Disney has made. They're like, hey, we bought Lucasfilms. Originals, the prequels, sequels, Clone Wars, and the spin-offs. That is the new canon. So we're going to make these comic books that kind of fill the space between a lot of stuff. And we're going to do Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and that's going to be like our TV division, filling the space between the original movies and the sequel trilogy. So they might have explained Snoke in, like, a comic book somewhere. But, like,
I don't think so.
It's not that people aren't going to know that, unless it's, like, told to them. And who are the Knights of Ren?
Knights of Ren are explained in the comics, and I'm sure Haley knows.
But, like, they show up and, like, they show up at the start of Force Awakens, and then I don't think they ever show up again.
They operate outside of the First Order when Kylo burns down the original Skywalker Jedi Academy. He falls in with the Knights of Ren and is, like, training to be one of them before he makes his way to Snoke, or as part of his training for Snoke. And he's able to work his way up the ranks, kills the leader, becomes the leader of the Knights of Ren, and brings them with him to First Order. They are not loyal to the First Order. They exclusively are loyal to Ben Solo.
Makes sense.
Yep, and that's the Knights of Ren.
It's just like,
my favorite guy's name is Vikrul, because it looks silly.
So I'm going to compare sequel trilogy, what we got, to the sequel trilogy that could have happened if we followed the extended universe. So they kept some stuff from the original extended universe. Han and Leia's kid being one. Not EU. They have like 3 kids, I think, in the EU.
Jason and Jay.
I think Jace. I think Jace Solo, and there's a lot of offspring in the extended universe. But it's so okay. So, like, the extended universe, after everything, Luke starts a new Jedi Order. He has his nephews, his kids, I believe, because I believe he also gets married and has a kid, and a bunch of new.
Jade.
They missed an opportunity bringing her into the franchise. So it's like they have that, and then it's like it leads to all this other stuff with like new Siths showing up. And then, Han and Leia's kid turning to the dark side, which is what we got for sequel. So they took that premise of it. But like, show me, I mean, we're finally getting it in the TV shows. But show me Luke at like peak Jedi power, like fighting a new like Sith. But you can go like deeper and deeper into the extended universe, where eventually it gets to the point of exploring, where does the Force come from? Oh, it's this crazy goddess that we have to fight. Mm-hmm. Like, they start fighting deities. And then there's like
the sister, the mother.
Yeah, they do. I forget the names, but they do all that. I remember that being a thing. Thrawn shows up as a big extended universe villain. And then we get the weird shit. That's like this alien race from another galaxy shows up. They're resistant to Force powers. And like they can't be detected by the Force. So they're like the perfect Jedi killers. And it turns into this whole like galaxy-wide like invasion with them. It's like this whole big this whole big war. A bunch of named characters die. And it's just like, where are we going with this?
I see why Disney was like, eh.
Yeah,
they kind of lost the plot there.
They're like, let's not do that. Bring back Palpatine. This is like, but I think it was the same guy too, right? I think Palpatine was played by the same actor from the prequels.
Oh yeah, same actor, yeah.
I mean, I like that. I like when they get the originals back, which is why I'm excited for Kenobi, because Ewan McGregor deserves that role. And Hayden Christensen
comes back,
deserves another chance.
I have complicated feelings about Ewan McGregor as a person.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like they have all this history in a bunch of novels. I can't even think about the number of novels that exist for Star Wars post, Return of the Jedi. Is that the third original one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like years. It's fucking 80 something to 2010. So 30 years worth of novels. You got comic books, video games, like a bunch of video games. It's wild
to me that like I can't think of another, and like this might just be my own ignorance, but like I cannot think of another fandom where people were like allowed to just publish like licensed fan fiction that became quote unquote canon until Disney was like, no, we own it now. I'm sure there's other ones that do it.
I'll get into that in a sec.
Yeah, but that was what blew my mind, because like there's Reylo fan fiction, which is the ship of Rey and Kylo, that are being published as like normie novels now, and I'm too scared to read them.
The thing with
like, what if I already read this on fanfiction.net or AO3.com?
I think what changed is that Disney is doing their true timeline now, where it's like, hey, Star Wars Fallen Order, the video game, takes place after Order 66, but before the original movie. It introduces the Inquisition, which are showing back up in Kenobi, so that actually fits into the timeline. And it's like it's essentially what Kevin Feige's doing with Marvel, where it's like, all right, what story do you want to write? All right, where does it fit into this? Here's the established continuity that we have. Make it work. So it's like there's actually like a committee now, and I think it's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are like the two heads of it now.
And they're good at it.
And they're very fucking good at it. So they're like, hey, I'm going to do stuff in this show that you guys are still exploring in the cartoon, but we're going to have it all work out because we're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we got Giancarlo Esposito as a fucking villain.
Is that the chicken man?
Yeah, it's the chicken guy from Breaking Bad. Gus.
You have something I want.
And I have this sweet fucking lightsaber. that I never thought I would see in live action. So
Pretty spooky.
he's just like, I just have this. And I'm like, he just has that.
I will say one thing that I've appreciated. I mean, I haven't watched most of the shows. Like, I never watched the Clone Wars TV show. I didn't watch Rebels. My first encounter with them kind of filling the spaces between the films was Rogue One, which, another controversial Haley opinion, I think Rogue One is a stinky hot pile of garbage, but it had some good points to it. The ones that really stood out to me, in my own defense, I saw Rogue One the day that Carrie Fisher went to the hospital.
Nah.
So it's a cursed film for me. Never gonna watch it again.
I like Rogue One. I don't think a movie was the best way to show it.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better as like a mini series of like a show or something.
My favorite bits were it explained how, like, it alluded to how Jedi culture was erased so swiftly.
Oh, yeah.
And why they needed to have that done so much, because they were using Kyber to power their weapons versus powering lightsabers. So I was like, that's an interesting plot hole that you filled. It also filled the plot hole of why was there such a glaring structural error in the Death Star, and it was, because
this guy wanted revenge, and he built it into
it so his daughter could destroy the horrible thing that he was being forced to do.
Why is the opening to the original movie so fucking hectic? It's because Darth Vader is chasing you down a hallway. Probably the best scene, I think, in a Star Wars movie was just Darth Vader showing why he
finally being able to kick ass.
I have this conversation with my friends after we saw it. This was the first time that we've seen Darth Vader from a normal person's point of view. We've always ever seen him from another Jedi's point of view. This was a horror movie to these rebel soldiers. This is Space Jason Voorhees chasing you down a hallway.
It's Jason X, but you gave Jason a lightsaber.
It's a horror movie. And it's like, it's so fucking tense. And it's like, this is because we're seeing it from these normal people's point of view.
Oh, see, I was stoked because I knew the movie was almost over.
Fair.
My favorite part of that film was when we were leaving and everyone in the theater is all like sniffly and crying, and I'm just ready to get the fuck out of the theater, because like there was two moments in that movie that passed where I leaned over to my dad and said, I'm ready to leave, and that's the first time I've ever wanted to leave a Star Wars movie. And these girls in front of us were like, isn't it so sad? Like, this is not me passing judgment on these girls. This is just a moment that I felt was indicative of sort of that movie and why I don't like it. They were like, I didn't think that all of them would die. And I said, we got to the car and he's like, my dad was like, you've been dying to say something. What was it you want to say? And I was like, anyone who has seen episode 4 should have walked into that theater knowing how that movie ended, which I think means that you're wasting your time making a movie if you know how it ends. Because, like, of course we knew they were all gonna die. Mon Mothma says in Ep 4, we lost a lot of good people getting these Death Star plans.
Yeah.
Did you think it was just the people on Leia's ship? No! Who got it? Rogue Squadron. Where's Rogue Squadron? Dead.
They're dead.
Who's
not here?
Who's the guy? Ben Mendelsohn? Is that the
Mads Mikkelsen?
No, not Mads Mikkelsen. Ben Mendelsohn. He's the guy who played the Empire like villain. The guy who went. I think it's like Ben Mendelsohn or whatever I think his name is.
Grand Moff Tarkin?
No, that's Peter Cushing, I believe.
Oh,
the guy who
the guy that sucks. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that guy.
I'm with you now.
Yeah, Ben. I think his name's like Ben Mendelsohn or something. It's something like that. I enjoyed him as a villain because I think it was more because since he's talking to Mads Mikkelsen's character, it's a Empire officer who seems more human because he's talking to a like former, I guess, coworker. It's not just like, these rebels, we have to kill them. It's like, farming, man, what are you doing? It's like, it's a different kind of portrayal of an empire. And we also, like, with the whole, transmitting the Death Star plans, and just he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he has the gun pointed at him and all this other shit.
I feel something unforgivable that occurred in that film was Vader making a dad joke before he knew he was a dad. When he's like, be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Yeah.
Two back-to-back puns. Oh my god,
It's-
Vader pun daddy. I wanted to leave the theater when that
It's just
happened.
like, I feel like, part of me feels like that's Anakin, like, channeling a little bit of Obi-Wan and like a joke, but at the same time, this is fucking Darth Vader who set him on fire.
He thinks Obi-Wan fucked his wife.
I'm not going to put it past Obi-Wan. So.
Obi-Wan could have. Yeah, no. I was gonna say Obi-Wan absolutely.
Fuck this.
There's some stuff where Obi-Wan gets some sus
if
stuff.
If you watch the Clone Wars and you see Obi-Wan's like love interest in that show,
Satine.
Yes, right? I don't know. I didn't watch Clone Wars.
Me either.
Like Palpatine, I believe Obi-Wan fucks. So.
Yeah, everyone thought it was gonna.
Right,
everyone thought the big twist was gonna be that Rey was a Kenobi because there's only a handful of people who have British accents in the whole series, and then one of them was Obi-Wan. And I'm like, yeah, because accent is an inherited trait.
What? That's just a little thing about that. I really like that Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee got to both be in Star Wars, because those two were like best friends since like the 60s. They did the Hammer horror like film series together, like Dracula. Chris Lee was Dracula. Peter Cushing played Van Helsing. They were like always in movies together. So just seeing them in the same franchise, I think it said Christopher Lee took the role because of Peter Cushing. It might have been after his death.
He died in 94.
So he probably would have taken it after his death, just to kind of like honor his friend. But it's like, yeah, there's only a few British people, and most of them are villains. So,
as it should be.
As it should be.
And it turned out that she was the offspring of a villain, the grand offspring of a villain.
I love democracy.
God, I hate Star Wars. I hate this stupid franchise.
Star Wars is that, like, it is that franchise, isn't it, though?
Everyone's
it's like I love.
Deep. I'm like, I know.
You're like, I love some of the concepts of Star Wars, but boy, do I hate fucking watching it. So, like, the only time I've had, I think, fun watching Star Wars is The Mandalorian, because it feels so different.
I had fun.
It's way different tonal shift.
I think the thing that I need in Star Wars now, I think I've said it in previous episodes, or maybe in another episode, give us some Star Wars that is not about a lightsaber or Jedis. Like, give us, there's so much of this universe to explore. Show us, the thing that I keep talking to my friends about that I want a, Band of Brothers style show. One is going between like a group of rebel soldiers and a group of stormtroopers, just like on the ground in these big battles.
That would be hard to do because in the original trilogy they all look alike.
Have you seen the Bad Batch?
I've seen bits and pieces.
Bad Batch is literally what you're describing.
But grittier, live action.
Okay.
If I had to pick one thing that I want from Star Wars, it's a goddamn break.
I mean, that's a mood.
Stop. Take a pause. Stop giving me shit.
Stop it.
Get some
help. Get some help.
It's
That's
going
what I want from Star Wars, a goddamn break.
Star Wars, like after the sequel trilogy, Jon Favreau was like, "Stop it, get some help," and then he made Mandalorian. And he's just like, "That is the help." But
as you're speaking on like wanting to see stories from like a non-lightsaber wielding point of view, may I posit my game? It's not canon.
Plug the game.
But it's just like so the game that I play on Tuesdays, I am playing a lightsaber wielder, but she is not technically a Jedi. The way it works in the game first of all, was made in the 1980s. I think it actually came out before Episode 6 came out. And it is a D6 based system, which means all of my rolls are D6s. It's just however many based on skill and attribute. And I play a Jedi, which is very hard to do in that game because you have to put more skills into more places than everybody else. So I'm playing the game on hard mode. Everyone else is playing it on, whatever mode. Everyone else already has like their specialties that they have. Like there's the hacker, there's the medical droid, there's a bounty hunter, and there's a gun runner. And everyone has their specialties in like piloting and like hacking and medicine distributing, whatever the case may be. And I'm just sitting here like twiddling my thumbs, like I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me, and I'll get there at some point.
Donnie Yen owned that fucking role.
He popped his whole pussy in that movie. He was the best
Donnie
part
Yen
of that
was
whole
great.
film.
There are 3 shining lights, at least in casting for me for Rogue One, and that is Forrest Whitaker as Saul Guerrero, because we see a lot of Saul in the Clone Wars cartoon when he was younger. So seeing this like old grizzled version of himself was great. Donnie Yen as the not Jedi, I feel like, or at least they keep doing this thing in the movies where they indicate that somebody is Force sensitive, but not like on a Jedi level. You have
hell yeah,
you have him in Rogue One, and you have the kid at the end of The Last Jedi.
I could talk for an hour about the kid at the end.
So it's like they keep showing these Force sensitive people, but they just never do anything with it.
It's almost like you can just be Force sensitive and not have to join a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as always, Alan Tudyk's owning any animated character that he plays. I love the robot. So
I'm gonna respectfully, this is not me putting any disrespect on our Lord and Savior Alan Tudyk. This is me putting disrespect on the sheer amount of rewrites and reshoots that occurred when making Rogue One, because I followed it rather closely. You can feel how many times that movie was rewritten, because they were like, it was supposed to be like a gritty, like, this is a war movie, and I'm like, I wish they had just like did that.
I wish the Battle of Scarif was the movie.
Yeah, Battle of Scarif, the movie would have been fun. But Disney's like, whoa, this doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. We need to add some comic relief to this film. Otherwise, it's not going to feel like a Star Wars movie, which I don't think Rogue One is a Star Wars movie because it lacks a good enough comic relief. They had such an opportunity with K2SO to give him existential dread comedy, and they didn't do it. And they put Riz Ahmed as like the existential crisis guy, and I have complicated feelings about that. I think Riz Ahmed is an incredible actor and was kind of shafted in that film. But Alan Tudyk did the best with what he had.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of Alan Tudyk is being so known for like playing the voices of characters, and Doug Jones is so used to being like the physical form that eventually we're going to get the Doug Jones character voiced by Alan Tudyk. So, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm sure we're running low on time.
Yeah, it's about we're about at the hour mark.
All right, since we're talking about Alan Tudyk, my last comment I'm going to make, because this is coming out on Space Day, we've been talking about a space movie. How does a Reaver wash its spear? I fucked it up. It's supposed to be, how does a Reaver clean its spear? It puts it through the wash. Thank you. I'm gonna leave now.
It's like the thing with the Space Day.
Good job.
If this wasn't specifically filmed on May 4th, I think Space Day each year, if it's going to be on a Friday, or if we're recording it on Space Day, we should just cover space franchises. Because we could talk about how Firefly was never given the real opportunity that it deserved. Or
I have complicated emotions.
Or how many Star Trek series do we actually need?
Never seen a Star Trek anything in my entire life. I thought I was only allowed to like one star thing in my youth, and the 3 star things were Star Wars, Star Trek, and Stargate, or is Battlestar Galactica?
There's Stargate, and then there's Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, and I picked Star Wars, and I was like, that means I must hate everything else.
Next year, whatever episode we record or release on the 9th, I'm going to say it right now, let's cover Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest? Oh no. I have to actually watch that movie now.
The movie's still great. It's still. I actually rewatched Galaxy Quest lately. It's still good.
What if Spaceballs?
Oh, that could be a whole. That might be our like first 0.5 in a long time.
Can we?
Yes, we can.
I can't do that today, but I would love to talk about it any
We'll
other
get-
day.
We'll get it up. We'll get it recorded at some point. Let's do the 0.33.5 of Spaceballs. Or
I'm so excited.
not just Spaceballs. I'm also going to like do my research and let's find
A bunch of Star Wars parodies.
like not the parodies, but like the obvious ripoffs that came from Star Wars. And I can talk about Turkish Star Wars, which will be great. Because that movie is a fucking disaster. But yeah, so this was kind of our talk of Star Wars here on May 4th. You guys are seeing this on Space Day, so hopefully you all enjoyed the episode, and hopefully on Space Day Elon Musk hasn't done anything stupid involving space. So
Please, when you're doing the editing, if he has done something stupid, like just edit it in here like, he has done something stupid.
days since Elon Musk has done something stupid.
Just a 0.
He woke up and he breathed 0 days.
But hopefully everybody's had a good week. Hopefully you all had a good Friday or Saturday whenever you watch this episode. But I guess
like Good Friday. What? That was in April.
That was a long time ago. That was
With your spirit.
May the force be with you and with you too.
And also
And-
with you.
It's a fucking Vulcan hands.
Now
But,
you're just choosing violence.
Eventually we'll also get it. We'll find people who want to talk about Star Trek because I have some thoughts from like the older stuff, but not into the newer stuff. And I know like there's this weird divide between the two fandoms, so we could definitely is that Peter Cushing?
Look at that hot man.
Yeah.
He was a cutie.
Peter
I've been
Cushing's great.
distracted for the last 20 minutes looking at this photo of Peter Cushing. Because he kind of looks like Tywin Lannister, but if Tywin Lannister was like...
He does look like Charles Dance, but I also think that like every older, handsome British man looks like Charles Dance. So...
Without Context Podcast. Check out our links in the description below.
But yeah, so this has been the Without Context Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I guess we'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Peter Cushing says bye.
Bye, Peter Cushing.